Okay, we are live. Sorry, we're a little technical difficulties at the beginning. Welcome to our second knowledge drop. And today we're talking with the city. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Please. My name is Brock Cherry. I'm the Planning and Community Development Director for the City of Great Falls.
And I'm Alaina Mattimiro. I'm Associate Planner with the City of Great Falls.
I'm Andrew Finch, and I'm also a planner with the City of Great Falls.
Wow. And I'm Ed Brown, President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. And today we're talking about your growth plan. But before we talk about that, we have a nice warm fire back there. That might be because of our sponsor, Brock. Do you know who our sponsor is?
Do I know? Do I know? It's home to one of the best lunch specials in town. People who don't realize the culinary greatness that Great Falls produces are just in the dark. And this guest sponsor, Fire Pizza,
Yeah,
is pretty delish.
I agree. You guys partake in the fire pizza as well for lunch?
Always.
Always.
Frequently,
Frequently.
as often as I can.
And did you know, if it's your first time, or you're watching this, you get free dip. Like, they have this thing right here called first time free dip.
First time free dip.
First time free dip.
So you're saying, I'm coming in for the first time, I'm scoping out the town, I'm
Yeah.
getting the vibe, I'm getting the sense, I get the smell to the fire pizza, I'm like, I'm going in there.
Yes.
And they're super nice, they're gonna sit me down, and I'm just gonna be like, hey, I'm new, first time. And then you're telling me they're gonna be like, free dip?
Free dip. Do you know what kind of dip it is? It's not like I dip, you dip, you put your hand upon my hip. Little old for you there, I imagine. It's a bad 90s song. But you know what kind of free dip it is?
I think you don't joke with the artichoke.
Oh, that you don't joke with the artichoke. Yes, it's an artichoke dip.
It is.
And you get some flatbread, I believe, with the dip. Is that what I
Yes,
understand?
it's-
fantastic.
Some gluten device of deliciousness.
Yes.
And there's cheese.
Cheese is always good. And if you're lactose intolerant, take a pill first. I would just say, right? There's a lot of cheese, but it's really good.
It is really good. Now I'm gonna be thinking about this wonderful dip the entire time we talk about the growth policy,
Well,
Ed.
hopefully the fire back there will keep you warm. And go to Fire Pizza, mention free dip, and you get your free dip for your first time. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Fire Pizza. Now, on to the growth policy. What is a growth policy, and why does a city need one?
Well, I'm gonna give this question to Andrew Finch.
Yeah, I'm the old guy in the room, so it's appropriate. I've been around, I've seen growth policies, I know what they are. I've been through a couple of the development process for a growth policy. So the first thing I want to say is, this is nothing new. We have a current growth policy in the City of Great Falls that we prepared with public input, all sorts of research. And a growth policy is kind of a misnomer. The reason we call it a growth policy is because the state said this is what we will call this document. So part of what we do in a growth policy is dictated by state law. But we had a growth policy before they were called growth policies. Back in the day, they were called comprehensive plans or long-range plans. And they're essentially a community vision for the future. If you ever go out on our website and look at our current growth policy, which I think we adopted in 2013, it's a 20-year plan. And I think most of our long-range or comprehensive plans that we've had really since the 1960s have been 20-year plans. So they're a vision for the future. What is our community going to look like in the future? What do we need facility-wise, infrastructure-wise, to reach that goal and that vision? And let me put that in context. So, in the 1960s, Great Falls was growing great guns. We had the military growth that was just bringing so many people into the community. We were the largest city in the state because of that outside influence. So we looked at to see what type of infrastructure we would need to accommodate really that boom that we were seeing at the time. So we had a plan for roads, for growth in subdivisions. We had a plan for infrastructure, so water, sewer, new and wider streets. How were we going to grow? And so what we have going on today is somewhat analogous to what we saw in the 1960s. We're seeing growth, we're seeing change, we're seeing an influx of people, and so we want to take a look at what we're going to see in the future. What are we going to need to provide? Who's going to be here? What are their needs going to be? And where will that growth happen? And so it's a plan for the future. I want to emphasize one thing here, though. It's not a regulatory document. Just like the name says, it's a policy document. So growth policy is a guidance document for our local decision makers to look at when they're making decisions for the future. Now, there's a recent twist on that, and we'll probably get into that a little later.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to say you can ask questions. It looks like we had a question already on the YouTube, but we took care of it.
Yep.
But you can ask questions in the chat there. We'll answer the questions. We hope to get a bunch of questions, so if there's anything out there that you think is valuable to help you understand the growth policy better, please ask questions, and we'll pause and ask them. Sorry, go ahead, Brock.
Well, and to continue, it's very important to know that, yes, this is a regulatory document. The state of Montana requires us to produce this document. But it's not us three sitting in the corner writing it, thinking this is what we think Great Falls should be. It's not even, city leadership such as the city manager and the city commissioners alone in a room deciding what it's supposed to be. This is the people's plan. That's probably a phrase that you've heard us refer to this effort as. This is the people's plan. So zoning is hyper-local in the United States. So I can tell you that if you've lived in other places other than Great Falls, that every locality has a different zoning ordinance. Now they may look similar, they may share the sense of we don't want to build nuclear factories right next to pet stores and stuff like that.
Be interesting pets.
It would
be
be
interesting pets.
very
We
interesting.
make great pets.
Yeah.
But they may have subtle differences, such as here we allow 5-foot fences versus in this city we allow 7-foot fences. Or over here the fence has to be made out of marble and really, really fancy. Or over here just throw up something chain link. But what your zoning code is supposed to be and how it relates, and I love how Andrew brought up that the growth policy is the policy document.
Yeah.
The zoning ordinance and other regulatory tools that we work with every day for current projects happening, the intention is that is a reflection of what we establish in the growth policy. So for example, housing is a huge buzzword today. Everyone's like, we need more housing. This is the time for the community to tell us what this looks like. And it's also an opportunity for us as staff to educate them on certain housing strategies, to tell them, well, this is what other people are doing, does this fit, and give them access to resources so that they can form their own opinions. But then, once we have that, and once this growth policy process is over, and it's been a long process, we've been talking about this since I first began at the city a year and a half ago. And
Okay.
we probably won't be finished. Our goal is to be done sometime in 2025. But when that's done, we're going to use the feedback that we get from this policy to inform decision-making on our regulations and on what we should do. We're going to use it to inform what should we be investing capital investment on. We're going to be like, where do you want to grow? The people are going to tell us want to grow. And then we're going to be able to look at, well, what sort of infrastructure are we going to have to develop to be in this area or bring these sort of jobs or what have you that people want. So in order to get this right, the main ingredient is public engagement and public participation.
Great. So you sparked a question in me. I don't think we have any questions right now, but you sparked a question in me is we have a county and some of the land within the city is confusing because it's county land. How does the growth policy, I know it's not a county growth policy, it's a city growth policy, but how does someone differentiate if they don't know the difference between what falls under the city and what falls under the county? Because Great Falls is part of Cascade County.
Yes, So we are part of the county, but when it comes to development regulations, we have the jurisdiction to govern ourselves. So we have the powers to determine how things are gonna be developed, where they're gonna be developed, and everything else. Now, if you're in the county actually has everything zoned outside of Great Falls as well. But you'll be following a different rule book. I can tell you that as we do this effort, do we try to coordinate with our county neighbors? Of course. With the county commissioners, with our staff counterparts and everything else, because we wanna have harmonious growth. But I can tell you that, let's say you do live in the county. You live outside of our corporate limits, it probably says Great Falls on your address.
That's kind of what I
Which
was
is kind of a
alluding to,
misnomer.
yeah.
If you're ever confused whether you live in the county or not, call our office. We will
Okay.
tell you right away. But even if you don't live in the city directly, this affects you. Because our population on a daily basis is probably around 60,000 people who actually live here. But our population balloons every day from everyone in the surrounding area coming here to work, to purchase stuff, to play, and we want your feedback too. So
And
this
it-
isn't exclusive just to people who live here. We want to be able to get feedback from everyone who interacts with our community.
Yeah, and you had a good segue there. They come to visit because they want to eat that free dip at Fire Pizza for their first time, right? So they come to visit Fire Pizza at lunch.
Mhm.
That increases that population.
It does. And I think they come here because they got fire pizza, but there's a variety of different foods.
Right.
And just like how there's a variety of different foods, I see a comment on there. The growth policy talks about a variety of different topics. And can you, Miss Alaina, kind of dive in
I
the
can name off
variety of topics,
some of the
please?
topics that we would like to hear from folks on. I think you touched base on one of the main ones, which is housing. I think that's one that we hear about the most often and the one that a lot of people feel pretty strongly about, and that's something that will be addressed in the growth policy. Other topics is economic development, so growth in our businesses, bringing new businesses in. We hear a lot about transportation. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about traffic in Great Falls, what that might look like with more people coming in or more business growth, growth within our transit system, pedestrian and trails. Parks and recreation and open space is a big topic in Great Falls. I think that we are really proud of our parks and the amenities that they have and provide. So getting feedback on those sorts of things is really important as well. What am I missing?
You kind of hit on it, like the environment, when it comes to that open space, like Great Falls exists because of the natural environment. If the Missouri River wasn't here, Great Falls wouldn't be here.
Right.
And as we grow, and I think we've seen a lot of this in Montana, coming from Idaho, which has been a high growth state for the past 2 decades and has really exploded. When I look at Great Falls, Montana, I see where we were at like 10 or 15 years ago. And you'll have folks in like the Boise metro area, if you've ever been there, reminisce how 10 years ago that to get to the next town over, they had to go through fields and there was open space. And I can tell you that if you don't plan for it, a lot of those spaces that make spaces special will disappear very quickly. Great Falls, we are so lucky that in Montana, generally we are fairly spread out. And I love that you can go up and drive up by the airport and look at our town and see our town, but then you see the amazing open space all around it. And I think you get the sense of like, man, this is Montana. Like, this is authentic. And the growth policy is going to speak about the environment, how do we protect that, and what are our priorities.
And some of the other thing I would say, like utilities and infrastructure is a big thing. That's one of the challenges of growth and one of the things that will have to be tackled as we move forward. I think it's something like utilities, like your water and sewer mains. A lot of people just kind of have that in the back of their brain, and it's something that maybe we take for granted because we run the faucet and it works and there's no problems whatsoever. Shout out to our public works department for making that happen for us all the time. But that's gonna be something that we need to talk about moving forward. if we're choosing to use our open space for new housing or whatever the people decide of our community, then we need to make sure we know how to get water and sewer and stormwater decisions figured out there as well. So that's a big topic to hear feedback from folks.
And it's also a great opportunity to kind of take the temperature of our community of how they feel about growth in general.
Yeah.
One of the things that we'll touch on a little bit more, we are going to be doing a comprehensive survey. And one of the questions in there is, how do you feel about growth? Do you feel like we're growing? You know, is it bad? Is it a good thing? Because people are passionate about this topic. Great Falls, as Andrew mentioned when he was giving us the history, there was a time where we were booming. And because of a multitude of different events, we've kind of have just been coasting at the same population that we've had.
We plateaued there for a few decades,
Yeah,
for a few
but there's a
decades.
feeling out there that things are changing.
And
Yeah.
there is, and people are starting to see these properties around them that have been the same for decades that are starting to change. They're starting to be developed into something new, and it's a new experience for our community. And the growth policy is a way for us to kind of talk about how we feel about that. What are we nervous about when it comes to growth?
Mhm.
And collectively, how do we go about defining what that means as a community?
Brock, I think you made a little mention of a survey, and I don't think we've talked much about
No.
opportunities for public input. And I think the survey will be one of those main opportunities for public input, or one of the easiest methods. It will be an online survey, and it will have, I don't know how many questions, but there's a slew of questions that'll really help shape and form the policies that we come up with in the direction that this growth policy goes. Now keep in mind, that's only one of many public input opportunities, but we have that coming up probably in the next week or two. So we really encourage folks to look for that opportunity. It'll be out on our website, or if you're part of our listserv, you'll see that survey coming.
Yeah, and the chamber can send, we'll send a link out as well for you guys to members. But one question about the survey. So I've taken surveys before. Surveys are important. If I'm only concerned about certain areas, do I have to take the complete survey? Because if they're long,
Let's
hold on,
let's-
talk to me about the survey, because I know that's gonna come up.
Okay, I'm with you on the lengthy survey, so I'm pretty sure survey is 35 questions, so
Okay.
it's not scarily bad. Okay, however, if you do take the full survey,
Yeah,
you will be in the running to win a gift card from Fire Pizza.
no.
And if it also happens to be your first time, you might get a free dip on top of an amazing pizza, right?
Right.
I mean, so 35 questions for a chance to eat a Fire Pizza on them, that's a pretty good deal, am I right?
Not only that, it's our first time, so we just had free dip delivered
Are you
from
kidding?
Fire
What?
Pizza. Can you believe that?
Oh my
Shout
gosh.
out once again to our sponsor, Fire Pizza, the free dip promo, mentioned free dip. So I wish we could have planned that like that, but it just worked out.
And what another counter argument I would make to the people who are like, well, I don't want to talk about these other things that don't matter to me. It all matters. It all matters. For the people out there who rightfully so, who have probably been skeptical about local governments, skeptical about spending, skeptical about everything, this is the best tool that we have reflective of our community, that when our governing body members go to the table, that they can refer to get a sense of this is what the community wants. So
This is where their voice will be heard.
yes, it's
You want to take the survey, not because you can get gift cards. I imagine there's other places you're giving gift cards to.
Yeah.
But this is your opportunity to get your voice heard by taking the survey.
yeah. Well, and you always have your time to get your voice heard. Outside of the survey, we're going to be doing some community engagement events during the last week of January. We'll make sure we have a link to that. It's going to be both during the day around noon and also after work after 5. And we have that on our website, which is available here with the dates and times where you can come, and we're gonna have our consultants there with us. And what they've done is they've done a existing conditions report, which is kind of show this is what Great Falls looks like right now.
And when you say that, this is a consultant that just is no affiliation, they're just like, this is what we see right now, that your conditions, do they compare it to other communities, or they're just, okay?
Yeah, and one of the reasons for using a consultant is bandwidth. You know, this is a huge effort. Unfortunately, we don't get to do growth policy 100% of the day. We have
You have other things to do.
Yeah, I'm a transportation planner also, just to let you know, and so
Your
is
day job,
Alaina.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
so that's a little different, yeah.
And our department takes care of building, code enforcement, parking,
Mhm.
a whole slew of other things.
Future topic,
So
not the shop.
So the consultant adds to our capacity, but they are also able to give an unbiased kind of opinion of this is what we're seeing, to add more value to the conversation. But when it comes to public engagement, it's been, and on our website, I'll make sure if it's there, or if it's not there, that it's there. Like, we have a public engagement plan that was tied to this, indicating, you know, these are the important things we need to get to. And we've been going to different groups speaking about the growth policy. I've been having coffees one-on-one with people talking about the growth policy, doing everything we can to be accessible. One thing we're really excited about, because I don't want there to be an excuse of why someone didn't participate. So know that our survey, yes, it's an online survey, but we'll have hard copies at our office if that's the way that you want to do it. And not only that, we have a recording telephone device.
I saw that.
You can just pick up the receiver and tell us what you think.
Now, do they have to
I won't
know how
record
to
it
use
that way.
Rotary? I saw
No.
that, no.
No, the
it's just-
retro
no, it's
effect is
really
very
easy.
cool.
It's just an
However,
effect.
yes,
Okay.
when you pick it up, it'll sound just like a voicemail. So you'll hear a recording, and then you'll be able to leave us a voicemail with your comments and concerns on the growth
That's
policy.
great.
So, yeah.
It's great.
So
Question,
Oh, yeah.
how long will you guys be taking input from the meeting?
we're gonna be taking input until it's done, until the very last moment. Now, there are times within this project process that we're really trying to get more input than not, because we have to finish the project. Like, we
Yeah.
need the input, we have to start drafting goals and objectives. What's happening at the end of this month is kind of like a full court press for in-person input and really getting out there.
The last week in January
Yes.
is our shot for some really open, public, face-to-face with the consultants as well as staff. So that's the easiest way to provide input, is to just come in at those meetings, learn about what's going on with the growth policy, and talk face-to-face with us. That's
Okay.
the easiest method, but then again, that survey is pretty darn easy.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
sit in your pajamas at your computer, and you just go through the questions. And that's real and that's meaningful input.
And the survey will be live for approximately 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
And then, after we take this public engagement, that's like when we actually start drafting the policy document. And we'll have our drafts available on our website, and people will be able to make comments about specific portions
Perfect.
and everything else. The public engagement in the growth policy is circular. It's not, we check it off and then we're done. It's going to be part of the process until the very end. And Andrew, can you kind of dive into the adoption process?
Wow, yeah,
And
sure.
like the public engagement opportunities that are involved at that level?
Yeah, anybody who's ever been to a City of Great Falls Commission meeting knows that there is formalized public input. If I were you, if I was a citizen of Great Falls, I am, but if I wanted to provide input, it would not be at the final stage.
Yeah.
The most meaningful input you're gonna provide is at this stage. This is where we're listening to everybody, we're hearing everything that everybody has said. We haven't drafted any document, so this is where your input is gonna have the most influence and sway. But there is a formal process with every public document. So we're gonna be going before the planning board. So the planning advisory board is an advisory body. This is really dry, so thanks for lobbing this one to me.
Yeah.
It's the advisory body to the city commission. So it's just appointed citizens They don't get paid for this, and they're gonna listen to, and review and read the document, and they're gonna make a recommendation to the city commission. Then the city commission is gonna have, a public hearing on it, they're gonna accept, public comment on it. They may choose to adopt it right away, they may table it for further work by staff and consultant, who knows? But I would really recommend that if you want to engage, you do it early and often.
Great. We have a couple more questions, I think, in there.
Yeah, we had one question regarding transportation. Does that include installing proper sidewalks?
Well, it certainly could, I guess I am the transportation planner for the city, so I can answer that one. However, this is probably a good point to mention that the growth policy doesn't occur in a vacuum. We have other plans and other guidance documents that the city uses on a regular basis. The planning office uses them, the planning advisory board uses them. So there are multiple documents that are used to guide decisions. We have a transportation plan. We just adopted a transportation plan in November and December. So we are actually using that recently adopted transportation plan to help form and inform the transportation element of our growth policy. So long story short, absolutely, sidewalks are a very important part of transportation. It's all modes of transportation, short probably of horses. But I know some people have said that maybe we should talk about horses.
Why not?
Why not? There are a lot of horses in.
I have an employee got stuck last week, yesterday, and she would have appreciated being able to take her horse to work, I think.
Sure.
We'll have to ask her. We have time for one more question, and it talks about the 2013 plan was supposed to be updated every 5 years. So is there a plan, once this is produced and approved and everything, do we revisit it? I know strategic plans for businesses, you revisit, you keep it alive, it's a living document.
It is, and the growth policy isn't supposed to be dry. And you know what isn't dry? This artichoke dip. It's delicious. I can't wait to get into it.
Good segue.
But I can tell you that it's supposed to be a living document. And per state statute, yes, we are supposed to review it every so often because our environment changes, the economy changes. There's all these things that happen that maybe we need to modify things. So every 5 years, there's supposed to be kind of a significant update to that, where we're updating all of our factoids about our time, our population projections, housing, employment, items like that. And one of the things that we're going to ensure that we build into this process is knowing when we're going to look at it again. Everyone's always getting better, and I think one of the things that we've done in our planning division recently is we have quite a few planners. All of our planners are kind of a jack of all trades, and we can do a bunch of stuff, but we've kind of formalized a long-range transportation planning division. I think when it comes to reviewing this on an annual basis, that we've built bandwidth into our organization, that we're going to be able to do that we're going to be able to look at things and be able to get information to the governing body of whether certain parts are still relevant, or like I said, people can give public comment forever on this. We can even tell them, hey, I know we adopted this 2 years ago, but we keep on getting this comment surrounding this one goal. Maybe we should take a look at it and maybe make some changes.
So another question came in, but it was the same question I was gonna ask. What is the best way right now for folks that wanna provide feedback or wanna be a part of it? Like we end this, they wanna go, the survey's not out yet, we provided a link. Is that link where they need to go? Where do they need to go?
Yeah, on our website. I mean, you can, if you go on our website right now, you can leave a comment immediately and it'll show up in my inbox 5 seconds later. But we really, really, really want to see you in a couple weeks in January on our workshop days.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what I would invite people to do right now, if you haven't, is on our website, there's a notify me link. Put in your email and you will receive official correspondence about the growth policy of things that are happening. It's important to know, for those that have already signed up, we haven't issued anything yet. but you will start seeing things going out in preparation for the end of the week in January, and also when we hit certain benchmarks, like when we have drafts available.
Yep, and the survey.
And also the survey,
Perfect.
we will send that out. And then, you know, Community of Great Falls, what I need you to do is just share that we are doing this. You know, if you have social media, if you can share it and talk about it and just have really cool, helpful discussions. You know, when I was reading the electrics articles that were most popular during this last year, one of the number ones were Texas Roadhouse. It had like 800 comments on it. People were so interested in that. And what I can share with you is the growth policy, like, this is the foundation. Like, this is where we're trying to create good soil for good growth. And this is where we ensure that we have an environment where if those are the types of things that you want in our community, this is where we make sure that our environment is conducive towards that. So proper planning prevents poor performance. And this is an opportunity for everyone to be involved.
Perfect, perfect.
One
So-
more time,
Oh, yeah.
how will these surveys be sent out?
We will have a link online. They will be available in hard copy in our office. And we're also going to see if there's other ways and mechanisms that we can make these available to folks. But as of right now, there will be a link online and then hard copies available at the Civic Center. And if we find more ways to distribute those, we will notify everyone of what we are doing.
Perfect. Before we dive into this amazing dip from Fire, mention free dip at Fire. If you guys want to stay in tune with our next knowledge drop, make sure you click subscribe and hit the bell icon. The bell icon will give you a notification of when we go live. And we might just have some pop-up ones. We're discussing something on top of the parking garage in the future, possibly. Maybe, we'll see. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, this will be on YouTube. Or for actual planning, the link's there. Or go to the city's website and sign up to be notified of the growth plan.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Good job.